everyone, and welcome to She Shota. Today, we are going to talk to Srimati Duvvuri Vathsalendra, a woman who needs no introduction. She enters the room and just arrives. That is who Duvvuri Vathsalendra is, and no one else can give a better introduction than herself. So I invite Vathsalendra to give a brief introduction about herself and to tell us something about her life. So let's begin this journey with Duvvuri Vathsalendra.
Namaskar. I'm Duvvuri Vathsalendra, senior lawyer, practicing all over India, now confined to Telangana High Courts. I've been practicing for past 32 years. I have lots of passion for dance as much as passion that I hold for my profession. During the journey of my profession, I must have done really memorable cases reported in the journals. But that's not a credit. It is a challenge again. Professionally, I had to face the charm of taking challenges. It's not just the challenges, it's the charm. Lawyers' profession is male dominated arena where the judges, your colleagues, majority of them are only men. So you have to rub your shoulders and move on. I made my mark in the profession being a classical dancer right from the age of 3 where I did my Parvati Parinayam at the age of 3. Thereafterwards, I didn't know where to go, in which direction I had to move. Then I was introduced to my Guru Garu, Nataraj Ramakrishna Garu, at the age of 7. From then, my classical journey is going on till date. I have given lots of performances. I never left the stage, the platform of art. So that's how coming from a very my mother being the youngest lawyer with Edward Wallace Gold Medal, father first Advocate General of Andhra Pradesh. I have the zeal of serving the society more. Be it anybody. I have always helped the poor in my professional life. I've done lots of programs collectively with the NGOs. I do my YouTube channel to promote all the knowledge that I have so that it doesn't become cocooned and it stays at one place. Sometimes, though I belong to the lawyers' fraternity, they misguide you, mislead you. To file one case, they make pretty devil of cases. Sorry to say that. But then people in the rat race of these current wants, requirements, growing demands of their families want to make quick money. So I do my profession with lots of honesty and grit. So I did not earn billions or crores. I did earn for a dignified life, not to cross my bounties and boundaries. I very gracefully walk the corridors of the court with having that honesty within self. When I sleep in the night, I'm guilt free and I sleep like a log. That's where my happiness lies. I've been married twice. My first marriage was an utter failure. Then, after living alone for 22 long years, I married my second husband, who's a doctor, orthopedic surgeon. My first marriage was at the age of 17. I eloped and I was thrown out the house. But then I fought the battles. And here I stand before you as a successful person after taking all the challenges. And that is what introduces me to you all with a transparent way of speaking. This is where a woman's mettle lies. She is the fighter. She is the ruler. She can conquer the world with passion. That is what is my principle in life.
I could not have done a better introduction. And it's amazing to hear about your journey. These few minutes that you talked about yourself, that itself was very inspiring. So now I would like to go into further detail. You mentioned that at 17, you got married, you eloped and married. Now at those times where everyone was so conservative? Where did you get the courage and how did you manage to do that?
As a young child, I always wanted to be a strong and bold person. I used to do lots of service even within the area where I used to help the old age people. I used to go around, collect money for their welfare. Those days, give charity, work for even the beggars in the street, give them food, distribute my clothes. In the process, as you say, destiny, it was just a cross connection of the landline phones. Those days, cross connections would happen lot more. So maybe again, as karma calling and the universe wanted me to do that, I got to know this person through cross connection of the phone. And then I met him, and he was desperate for me. I was not really prepared because I wanted to pursue medicine those days. I was still pursuing my inter first year when I met him. Maybe I was in the second year when he came for, when I told him that I'm going to have a dance performance, he came there and he followed me home after the program. From then, every day he started following me. And infatuations at that age work stronger. You don't realize that it's not love, it's infatuation. But I really loved that person. I eloped with him, in fact. I'm a Brahmin. He's a backward class person. So it was not acceptable in the family because he belonged to a lower cadre financially, too. So mother disowned me and I was declared dead in the family. And there were restrictions that none of my sisters, brothers would talk to me. I was abandoned and I struggled my life from then. But then where I got married to this person, he thought I come from a very rich and eloquent family. So he thought my mother would give him money. He had a passion for acting. So he thought she would sponsor him for the pictures, movies that he wanted to act, but then it didn't work. I was thrown out and declared dead. So the harassment started. I really would not want to relive all those moments because they are no less than all the agonizing movies put together. It was not one experience. I had a bitter experience of an attempt of rape in that family. I had to, be so conscious of even having my shower with a fright from which corner anybody would want to watch me naked. Then, at the age of 18 itself, I had my daughter, and I continued to study by taking tuitions, dance classes, and that meager amount I used to collect for the whole year, not spending a single penny. There were days when I used to stitch torn clothes and wear, which was never there when I was in such a rich family. I would never know what really money meant when we used to be given lots of pocket money to enjoy. I was the one in the family who would never repeat the wardrobe for the entire year. So that's from that life coming down to, into you're thrown into a dustbin, you realize you have to crawl out of the muck and mull and still you have to step out to a cleaner zone. That's how I raised like a lightning, not to give up on my education. I couldn't afford medicine because it was too expensive for me. So I took up
Mhm.
to law. All this was by myself. Nobody sponsored me. Nobody ever paid my college fee. Right from the day I left my mom's house, I lived on my own hard work. Um, there were times when I used to request one of my sisters who used to secretly talk to me. She was a gynecologist. She was the one who used to help me a little, like giving some of the good clothes. Okay, you're going out to the college, take this, free medicines. By then, she was a full fledged doctor. In fact, after I enrolled as a lawyer, she was the one, she gave me about 10 to 12 saris to go to the courts, so that I'm dressed well and people respect me. The As I always believe, appearances make lots of difference in the society. If you're poorly dressed, people wouldn't even bother to look at you. So from then, I worked really very hard in the profession. I had challenges in my senior's office. I was really thrown out of that office also because of my divorce problems, because some pamphlets were done against my senior to defame him. That was thrown on my head and my shoulders of the weight that because of my divorce, my ex husband must be trying to demoralize him. And unceremoniously, they threw me out of the office. I had no place to go. From a big house to two-room portion that I lived for many long years, trying to cope up. The owners had a problem because there used to be clients, male clients, used to get men at 9 p.m. So they used to label me, taboo me, that men are coming home. You have to vacate this house. These sort of challenges, not one, but pretty many have taken. From then, by the time I wanted to separate from my husband after living for almost 11 long years, I stayed in the marriage for that long, hoping that this man would change, hoping to give better life for my children. Because those days, I believed if you separate, the children are the ones who will be affected. So, but then, important aspect was to upbring these two children with no money, no proper habitation or living, where I couldn't effort to give a better, comfortable life. But then I made sure they get everything that they even don't demand. So I made sure they have very good food. I made sure they go to best schools. I made sure they dress well. I made sure they speak well. They are groomed well. They become the jewels of the society for the future. That's how I brought them up. And then today they glitter. That glitter shines on my face where I'm happy about it. And that's how that chapter of marriage, even when it went to the courts, it took ugly colors, ugly shades of my life where people were very interested. All the lawyers would flock to the court to listen to my matter. Some of them offering to marry me, some of them saying that, oh, you come with me, I'll give you so many crores, you can live happily. Many things happened there too. I even had to fall prey to one of the persons who said he would marry, otherwise he would kill me. I had to go to the human rights, protect myself. I always thought of my children that they're very important. I cannot take another man as a father because a man can always be a husband, but not a father, because children are the ones who'll suffer. However, you have to handle and life has to move on. I'm still fighting out many battles, but then I'm happy and a confident and strong person.
So, being a single woman is tough. What are the challenges of being a single mother? And especially, like, with your relationship with your children, how does that get affected due to your divorce or anything that happens to a marriage? Think about that.
Indian culture, traditions, and me being a mother of two children, I can vouch, I swear people will not take it so easy. It is always, people always say it, oh, broken marriage. The word is loosely used, very loosely used. Broken marriage, the children will be like that. She doesn't have a definite direction. Who's there to monitor her? She must be going around. She must be not wearing a beautiful character, or she must be a characterless woman. When I used to do my cases with excellence, people still named me that I must be having flings with the judges so I win the cases. The truth is, everybody hated me because I wouldn't talk to anybody. Because I had my insecurities of people trying to lure me or misbehaving with me. I really had all these problems apart from trying to handle my children. My daughter was 4 years old and my son was just a year old when I walked out of my first marriage. And as my children were growing, somewhere they had this insecurity or their feelings, okay, we don't have a dad. When we go out, it's a big problem, bigger problem than life was their imagination. When they used to go for parent teacher meeting, I was the only one who used to attend. My son was affected. Everybody else's fathers come, but I don't have a father. Then, if any male friends come home to meet me, or, I would call them for lunch and dinner, he was fine, but then he had his apprehensions because mother is talking to male people. I cannot bring my friends home and it will be a problem, somewhere that used to make me feel, what am I doing wrong? I'm not having any flings or affairs, but then their insecurities would affect me a lot, that I literally slowly tapered and stopped inviting people. I would stick to myself, but then I had to face many other challenges like their own insecurities. They also used to feel insecure of, if we go out like this, people may either take us for granted, or there could be incidents of molestations. There could be some wrong things happening, or the friends, what happened to your dad? Why he wouldn't? What is your problem? What happened? And multiple things coming their way also was a difficult thing. But at the same time, I would pose a question to the society and for myself equally. How is a woman responsible for all the negative do's of the man who actually destroyed her life? He's scot free. He enjoys his life. It is always the victim is the mother. I don't victimize myself, very honestly speaking, because I always believed my honesty lies within. I don't have to explain people about my transparency and my character. When I look up to the person in the mirror, my eyes look at the person where I stand before the mirror. My eyes should speak to me, not anybody else. When I wear a heart and soul so transparent, why am I explainable to everybody else out there? But then I had my own problems of these people always thinking that divorced mother, the insecurity, they cannot mix up socially. They felt that if they go to parties, birthday parties, simple gatherings, they would be questioned. So they would undergo their own mental turbulences, their own insecurities. They are people who show them low. They are people who constantly tell them, yours is a broken family. Divorced is a big taboo. And they always feel, they are left out. They don't recognize the mother's effort. Because somehow they are trying to cope up with their own problems, so they overlook the mother's problem. Despite all of which, the mother has to put up this show for her existence in a very, very punchful way, to give a punch to the
Absolutely.
world that, yeah, I'm here, strong, as tall as a mountain. Move me and just see it. That's was my attitude then.
But as a mother, you want to shield your child from everything bad, but you tend to feel so helpless when situations are not in your control and you really don't know how to help your child. So, how did you overcome that helplessness, or how did you deal with those situations?
There have been tough times. I used to get devastated sometimes. Their statements used to hurt me. Sometimes it used to affect my independence. Sometimes I used to give up on so many things. But then I used to explain them equally. I used to spend most of my time reading books to come out and not to shout. The best possible thing that I adopt, even in the most dire and, you know, breaking human point, is to stay calm, composed. The best thing is, even if anybody must have told something to me, I withdraw myself. I stay very quiet. When I was battling all these things, I used to lock up myself in my room, so that I'm careful enough that I don't go out of the stretch and get humiliated with the children, that they also don't understand me, because it doesn't make a point, because they are battling again their own battles. And then that will again create a war within the family, which I didn't want it. I wanted children to be in their own zone, to make slowly things being realized to them, the worth of how a single woman can bring bread to the house, keep everything comfortable, and maintain herself. So I used to have my tears alone, my battles alone. There was nobody else to hear my stories except one sister, as I said. Over the phone, I used to cry and tell her, but that was also not acceptable by my children, that they felt that I'm telling the family history out to third person. But then I had to have somebody to shoulder me, right? After all, I'm not a superwoman. Had I been like
Absolutely.
that, I would have been flown seas away to shed my tears. I couldn't do so. Oceans are still there. I can't fly. I have to stand grounded and fixed to the ground and raise high. So, with that, I addressed the problem gradually. Things started fading. And then gradually, I stopped thinking too much about the children, because I had to give them more than what they seek. So I never turned back. And all the tantrums or the negativities were pushed into the corner. I only believed love can make them grow much wiser and make them much more stronger. I taught them to be individual first place, more particularly my daughter Abhimanika, where I used to send her to the stores to buy things. I used to ask her to uh, get my documents done. I used to give them court document dictations for money, to make them realize how money is made. I used to sometimes may ask my steno not to come and give the dictations to the children. And the amount that I would pay to the steno, I would pay my children, to make them realize that if you work, your life is easier and you equally get your money. So they used to be very happy doing that. There used to be competition between them that I would do this. Even today, my son says, Mama, any drafting work, tell me, because now the prices have increased. So
That's nice. That's nice. Okay. So, what do you think? Is it okay to normalize divorce or to keep unhappy marriages alive, to maintain the sanctity of this institution called marriage?
people have to understand, first thing is, Sony, marriage is a heavenly thing. Only when,
Agree.
only when the man, there is a saying, you're born as a man. You become a real man when you take care of your wife, her needs, her security, her future. When a man deters from all these responsibilities, he just becomes a man outside the door, not within the family doors. Because no woman would want to go for a divorce until and unless some injustice has taken to place. Men do not like to be criticized for their irresponsible behavior, most of the men. And this will corrupt the family atmosphere. We will not be giving a healthy atmosphere to the children at the first place, and to self equally. You don't have to waste your energy, time, and your own life on a person who would never want to recognize your hardships, your love, more particularly, and the kind of responsibility that you're taking for the family. It is always better to move out of that zone, come out, better explain to your children what it is, and then you'll really see the beautiful, wonderful world out there where people really want to come happily, want to help you because you're a single woman. Many things come with, of course, disadvantages too, but then the advantages are in a fine quantity than the disadvantages. However, the children will grow up in a healthy atmosphere. So that's how all the women should raise, come out of a disturbed and unharmonious matrimonial lives and live their life independently. Times have changed. The Gen Z is now very comfortably accepting of divorces. At least our times, it was very difficult. Now people are aware, media did help the society of knowing the rights and wrongs. People should voice against the atrocities and should not sustain a bad marriage.
Sure. Recently, in some news, there have been incidents where women have taken advantage of the law, and it is being told that men have been harassed, and it's not just women. So, what do you have to say about that?
See, there were these old laws, 498A and other laws being misused to a larger extent. Larger extent when you compare. Out of 100%, there are 20% of wrong cases. Not all 100%, 80% are still genuine cases. These
Mm,
20% are the
sure.
people who want to exploit, who have grudge, who have vendetta, who themselves have no direction in life. They want to exploit the man by money or by their power, who actually come from, they are misguided by even lawyers. Sorry to say that. Being a woman, I always advise women not to exploit, to move in an honest direction. As I said, justice will be delayed in much of the matrimonial matters, though we have the written law, Hindu law or the marital law, marriage laws, that a matrimonial matter should be addressed within a span of 6 months. But it doesn't happen. Some cases, even
Mm,
16 years. They
wow.
are. I'm dealing with one case which is 21-year-old. So, like this, people do wrong things on wrong advice with the grudge, with a vendetta attitude. My
Mhm.
personal opinion is don't hurt others because you'll hurt yourself in the process.
Very true. I
That's the
agree
only.
to that. And yeah, as a woman, I feel like we hold the torch of compassion and empathy, and we must keep it lit no matter what. So that is why my personal take. Now, another thing which I would like to know is many women do not know about their legal rights. And what is one thing which you wish every woman knew, just as a baseline, even before they approach a lawyer?
First and foremost, women should self interpret whether the purpose of them in seeking advantage for themselves, not legally, personally. Now, when I say personally, they are analytical approaches. Now, one analytical approach is suppose, let me take an instance of divorce itself. If I walk out of the house, what is the advantage that I'll have? What is the disadvantage I'll have? If I walk out of the house, what is the advantage my children will have? What disadvantages they'll have? Tomorrow, if I walk out of the house, will I be able to make such money where I'll be able to address the financial matters of the family? And the last is, what are the last weaknesses? Suppose the man attacks me or assassins my character. Would that affect me? Because majority of the matrimonial matters, man attacks a woman on her character. So much so, they even go to the extent to avoid maintenance. They say the child is not born to them. The fight between the husband and wife should not drag the child to an endless fight of agony and pain, because the society is going to attack it. For all these things have to be given an analytical approach. Even in a property matter, they should know their rights. They should know in which direction they have to move. They should literally place themselves on the other side of these boundaries that they have already put themselves, and then try living that moments then and there. There is nothing wrong to know yourself before you execute anything. You should know your spices before you cook, not after the flavor is destroyed. So, life is also equally laying a tastiest bowl before you so that you relish it.
That is true.
Similar is the interpretation where you want to lay a beautiful path for yourself. Try placing thorns first, then flowers. If you get flowers, you're not hurt. But you get to have thorns, you should know how well protected your feet are. So these are the things they should know. And then approach the loss. Now everything is easily available. You can search on Google. You get, if not 10% information, at least 60% information is right on Google. So this is how women should give an analytical approach before they take any strong and bolder step. And mind you, only the bold can take a step.
Yeah, that is very crucial. I remember you telling me that you should speak up. First and foremost, you should learn to speak up for yourself. So, what do you have to tell to the women out there who are listening to you right now?
Women apprehend a lot. They overthink before things happen to them. They don't address things. They are very scared to speak out. They are very scared to stand for themselves. Let what may come, they want to stay at home. This is because they feel that society will be judgmental. They'll be judged. And then uh, everybody would lay their fingers to them. As I always say, let the shark bite, you don't bleed. Which means the world will anyway say very bad about you, very good about you. These days, however refined, honest, truthful person that you are, do you think you are blanketed with law, all good and goody things for you? No. There will be always someone who will be talking ill about you. If you're giving too much of weightage to the people who are talking so negative, bad about you, you're always pulled down. Either you know your worth. First, every woman should know her worth, what she is. She should know the worth, where she belongs. A simple example I quote:
Absolutely.
suppose you live a life. Somebody is treating you like a labor. You accept it and you do it. Forever you will be a labor. Without, because you added your value. You wanted to be that.
Hmm.
I never want to be that.
Yeah.
Not someone, who's very scared, who wants to be in a dustbin or stay cocoon, stay in a corner, you know, cage herself like a caged bird. despite having wings, not to fly. These are all disadvantages. No birth. Women should know and realize she is the origin of the universe. She is the originator of the birth. So she has to be bold enough to take her life forward. So women, if they feel that they have to pull themselves back and not to address their own values, then they are worthless. Make yourself worthwhile. Be productive. Be bold. That adds to your beauty. That makes you the true woman.
You actually gave a lot of insight about divorce. And then, if someone goes on for a second marriage, how does it affect the children as well as the parties involved?
Second marriage isn't easy for any woman because if the husband at whom she's going to get married has children and she also has children, there will be lots of conflict between these two children. And the husband is always biased towards his own children rather than the children of the woman who he has married.
Mhm.
Entire dicta goes according to their children, but not the woman's child. That apart, when it comes to property rights also, the husband, though he is married the second woman or the second wife, it is always the rights which all goes to the first wife's children. That is actually a good way, doing justice to the woman whom he has married. But at the same time, the husband has moral responsibility to take care of his second wife and their children. He should make his properties divisible and available for the children of both the families. If really he cannot do that justice, he has no right to get married. These days, I, as a lawyer, encourage prenuptial agreements between such families so that they stand by the promises they give at the time of marriage. For a man, it's quite easy to get away with everything. But in the process of being discriminated out of children, the lady's children are more affected than man's children. This again is stressful for the mother as well as the children again. They are crushed in this emotional imbalance, which is again a huge turbulence and turmoil where it affects the mother as well as the children. Hence, my best advice is to have a prenuptial agreement, have your terms written in that, and to keep everything clear and transparent with regard to assets, with regard to responsibilities, with regard to taking care of both the children, both the family children. Since the tie up with the ex wives and husbands are already done with, the only thing that has to be addressed is children. There should be clear terms how one should go by it.
Yes. Don't you think it is okay to have it in the first marriage itself to set the base clear, and or is it something that you should just go about with the feeling of trust and mutual respect?
I've already started executing prenuptial agreements even in the first time a girl or a boy are getting married because things have changed, times have changed. The women have taken a better position in the society of earning and equally looking after the family. They are
True.
doing multiple jobs. They are stressed out. They are overburdened. They have lack of sleep, their health goes for a toss, and nothing is concerned for a man or his family. This is very bad when we look up. If really a man wants his wife to look after only family, then he should not opt for a working woman. But then these days, everybody prefers a working and a beautiful woman, but then do not want to take responsibility.
Yeah.
You know, Foreign countries are far better than India, where the responsibilities are equally shared. The household chores are equally shared. The upbringing of the children is equally shared. The finances are equally shared, and everything. See, we used to call man is the bread bread earning person to the family, and the woman is the caretaker of the house. Does it go now? The saying goes, no.
No,
The
not at all.
bread and family taking has become the crown of the lady. She has to wear it whether the crown has thorns or diamonds. S- If such is the scenario, then the men should be given responsibilities, which can be reduced in a writing that if in future a child is welcomed into the family, the responsibilities are equally shared. The properties, if the woman is earning, shall be her self acquired. If the man is earning, it is his self acquired. But however, the children will have rights in the properties of those properties earned. All these things should be specifically reduced into writing. This will actually hold it better in courts of law, and it is always better to avoid conflict of interest in the future. As you rightly pointed out, exploitation by the women to have advantage of having more monetary benefits, asking for crores of rupees for maintenance. All these
Mm.
things should can be addressed by having prenuptial agreement, though it is not seriously legally accepted, but it is legally accepted otherwise as an instrument already being reduced, and this has to be consented by both the families. That will give better impact and give life to the document. I think this should really help, and we
Yeah,
should
I
have a prenuptial agreement.
agree. And I think when you sit down to chalk out the agreement, a lot of thing, a lot of thought towards the future also goes down, and no rash decision is taken.
Even in
Yeah,
case of divorce, you can write it in the prenuptial itself. In case the parties are parting their ways
yeah,
for many reasons than one, by way of a divorce, then what are the terms and conditions to be applied even if they knock the doors of the court? What are the
mhm,
implementations to be done? What are the stipulations or rules that
yeah,
they want to frame between themselves? This should be really very clear and transparently written, which will help
agree.
not many people.
I think earlier it was Kundali matching, then came medical records, and now we should normalize prenuptial nuptial agreements also. That's what I feel. I mean, that
This is
takes
all
care of
to avoid
everything.
conflicts and the unnecessary, litigation.
True. Absolutely. Absolutely. The way things are changing, the way society is changing, meanings are changing to of relationships and the value that is added to them. I think it is very necessary that we be practical and move on with the changing times and adapt to things that will help people live a peaceful life.
This actually will at least give them a clear mind that this is already
Yes.
there between us. There's nothing new which has to come up. So they won't
Absolutely.
be very rude and harsh and cruel fights, and
Mm.
things will end in a smoother way. If nothing
Yeah.
happens, okay, the document remains. It's just an
True.
instrument.
Yes. Agree. Completely agree. Might.
Good night.
Now, this is in the real world. Now, apart from the real world, women also face a lot of issues in the online space. So there's so much of cyber crime happening. So have you come across such cases or incidents in your life or through incidents that you've come across?
People think cyber offenses is only related to, the chat application, social media, or other apps. But let me tell you, Cyber offenses in all is a bigger, larger subject where, you know, business, your purchase, your transactions, your online bank transactions, your, uh, believing somebody of giving the documents, a submission of a company where a fraud company is floated and you're offered a job and they take your certificates in misuse. So there are multiple dimensions and multiple platforms in the cyber space. Importantly, for women, of course, job, employment, and all that can be easily dealt with by going to the courts and doing it. As I said, women are really scared to face boldly of the offenses that happen on the internet and the media, is mostly the misuse of their profiles, their personalities, their own private content, their own uh, content, which is, something where they do some sort of an advertisement or something for some company which is misused also. All the girls out there, all the young women, or the women in normal, I advise, even if it's your husband, for a romantic moment, do not show yourself nude. There is lots of hacking. You don't even know your picture has left your husband's, you know, the husband's data collection and has gone to somebody else. There is lots of cyber theft. Your personal data is no more your personal data. There have been many cases where young girls, not knowing, with those smart boyfriends of theirs asking them to, please send me a picture. You look so gorgeous, so beautiful. You are. You know it. Why does he want to have that picture with him? And then there was an incident where this girl innocently believed him, sent a picture, and he circulated it for money. And during the circulation, again, that went back to her closest friend when she had this knowledge. Of course, we caught him because the IPs, the identities from where it was going, how it circulated, all that had come. But then the damage was done already. I always tell people, you have chosen to do something which is you for a moment were lured and you have given it. Even before thinking for a moment of to be secure for yourself, precisely what I say, analytical approach. What if this happens? If really the boy or the guy whom you love is your well-wisher, would he ever ask you to give such picture? Because he has to give you emotional security, social security. He's not the right person for you. And this apart, men have made it a habit of luring poor girls, literally poor girls, Sony, for having, cyber sex. They offer money, they lure them once, and this poor financially backward communities, they get into it. It's a huge racket. And then a day comes when they are so abused that they have nowhere to go. Even laws can't help them because they know well where they are landing, where they are stepping. You step onto a rocking boat and then you say it should not sink. It's difficult. This is because they are not equipped with the knowledge of offenses that may happen which will affect them for lifetime. Not only these, there are many, many platforms, including this matrimonial websites which are very deceiving. The profile shows something else, the person is something else. There have been people in the name of marriage who have exploited girls of money. So, all these things one should be aware. Girls must be very careful in handling. Not only these, now cyber offenses also mean somebody using derogatory language, shameful language against you, and posting vulgar things about you, and using your pictures for some other cheap and vulgar displays. You have absolute rights of approaching the courts of law under cyber offenses. Under RTI Act, that is right to information, you get everything, all the data by anybody. People must use the RTI Act and address such problems. Main
That's
thing
really
is
helpful.
precaution is better than cure. Better be careful than being damaged.
But Vatsalendra, there's a huge shame factor also that stops women from reporting. The worry about being judged, about family finding out, or being blamed. Because, many times they say, oh, it must be the fault of the woman. So, what do you have to say to someone who has experienced something online but hasn't told anyone yet?
See, here, Sony, you're already half buried. You have already
Unfortunately.
you have already dug your own pit. Now, how to address is important. Yes, women are scared of being judged. Now, lately, let me tell you, I've been fighting a battle for prostitutes. Why should prostitute alone take the blame? Why not the man who goes to her? Why shouldn't he? If a man doesn't go, would there be prostitution? My first question. Definitely no.
No.
Similarly, if the man must have not done offense, why blame a woman? The woman should be bold. She should come out. She should explain it to her parents. See, when she was not having that fear while she was addressing such things or, being exploited, why be scared? Her inner confidence should speak to her. Her strength, what happens to her strength? Her own, again, personality. Is she guilty? She has to voice out. She has to stand for herself. In case the parents don't support, she is the one who has to support herself. Who comes in protection when a girl is raped? Are her parents around her to protect her? Is the society around her to protect her? No. It should be thy eye that I rise. Thy no one to hold should be your own personality. Anything that attacks you, don't be the lamp in the street. Strike like the lightning in the sky, where you send a message to the world that you're very powerful. If anybody touches their birth, that is the message a woman has to give when she is attacked. Anyway, as I said, don't bleed when the sharks bite. People will anyway talk about you. Even if the man does, you're giving a man way. By suppressing one man's bad do, you're creating 100 such men. So who is generating such people? We women. So if one voice comes out strong, the other will always think, yes, when she can do it, why not me? Human mentality and psychology is always we wait to see others act and never say, why shouldn't I act? If this attitude is nurtured, I think we will build a stronger womanhood.
Hmm. We all stand for each other. We all stand up for ourselves. I think that is important.
And I think critics, women are the worst critics when it comes to women's problems. Women also have to understand that they are also part of the crime and the offenders. Do not criticize a woman of what she is, even a prostitute, until she had her own requirement, until she had faced lot. I've had cases where the husband sold his wife to multiples. Now, what do you talk about such man? Why only the woman? Now, lately, Supreme Court has addressed this. Any person caught in prostitution, the man also has to appear before the courts. I was truly happy about it. It was, at least one nice kite flying in the sky instead of, too
Hmm.
many kites flying and then getting into a conflict.
Nice. Fine. So, um, you said women should stand up for themselves, show up for themselves. What is showing up for you like? How does Vatsalendra show up?
I'm a person with lots of self integrity. Even today, if anybody attacks me, I wouldn't withstand it. I fight for my rights, be it from any parameters. I want to be the strong woman out of the strongest. I want to have my own value. I value myself. I know my worth where I stand. My worth, in a sense, not financially or monetarily. My self worth of my character, my instincts, my beliefs. I don't want to impress anybody. I will impress myself. I want to throw challenges for myself. That makes me a perfect, stronger woman. Let people judge me, evaluate me, degrade me, or derogatory language being used will not affect me because I am my mirror image. I am not copy of anything. So I retain my identity with my worth and respect. That is what
That's awesome.
I mean for myself.
That's really, really nice. Now that is Vatsalendra showing up. Who showed up for you during your tough times and what kept you going on?
Truly speaking, there was nobody in this world to stand for me. As I told you, my mother threw me out. There were conditions laid that nobody talks to me. I never took monetary assistance from anybody, even till date. I was thrown out of my senior's office. I had problems. And there were days when I used to really think, what may happen tomorrow? When I used to see just 100 rupees in my pocket, having no money, two children in front of my eyes. But then I always thought I will wriggle out of these problems, these difficulties. And I think, except for my sister who supported me emotionally, at times my brother, but nobody was along with me. No one. I slept alone. I woke up alone with my two children for many years. I cried alone. I My tears flew into the waters of my shower. I had no place to cry because if I cry with people, I always thought my tears would be exploited. People, again, my own insecurities. By then, I have seen too many things in life. So I had own insecurities of showing myself to others to stand for me. So I thought I'm the best person to stand for myself. That's how I took challenges when I used to walk miles to courts, traveling in the buses, in the rickshaws. I had no vehicle. And I was so scared if I don't reach courts on time, my senior would throw me out of the job. So all these things really buried me into, or rather say, evolved me to be a stronger person. And I took all these challenges alone, all alone. I didn't have any support, no relative. They were friends, but then I never wanted to be dependent on anybody. I always wanted to be self made, which I truly mean self made. I can throw a challenge if one person will come out and say, I was there for you. I throw a challenge. Let one person come and say that. No, I had nobody except my two little kids as my emotional support.
That's really great. And definitely having children is a blessing. And those moments of weakness, you turn to them, you look at them, and you find a reason to move on. That is what I feel happened.
Very true.
So, amidst all of this, you also managed to bag a Bharat World Record. Tell us something about that.
When I was very young, I started my dance. Three, as I said earlier. And then seven, I was with Nataraj Ramakrishna Garu, Padma Shri Nataraj Ramakrishna Garu. I was always that tomboy as a child, and I had lots of strength in my feet. Even today, my legs don't stop. So I was very strong on the floor. My footwork was very strong. At the age of, I think, seven, or I went to my Guru Garu. When I was doing my seventh standard, my Guru Garu noticed that I really do rigorous footwork. Then he chose me to perform Perini Thandavam. But then everybody opposed. He actually started. He started with the first jati, the first move of the Perini Thandavam. But then all the male fraternity who were performing the female art, there is something called Bhama Kalapam.
Okay.
Excuse me. Which male artists would transform themselves into female forms and perform. And there was this, he is still there, I still respect him. Kala Krishna was groomed as a Satyabhama those days, and he is very prominent. If you Google search, you will get lots about him. The first opposition came from him that, a female should not be taught a male form. This is a war dance, preparing the warriors to have that way of sword and to encourage them and to forget the miseries of war. They used to prepare them by Perini Thandav. Again, the divine form of Lord Shiva. This was opposed very vehemently. And I felt that to be very rude. And then my Guru Garu, because he had pressures, he stopped it. He never taught me again.
Oh,
That day, that fire was ignited in me. I said, I'm never going to let this flame come down. One day I will perform. And I waited for long years. Then I went into the flow of my professional life. I was busy there, though one or two programs here and there I was performing. But then I didn't have time to again get back to this form. After my mother's death, I wanted to give something very different, very committed form of me as dedication to her. Then the spark came out of me. Why not Perini Thandavam? Then I approached the Bharat World Record holders. Then I said, you fix a date. I'm going to come up on the dais performing Perini Thandavam. I approached Bandi Perini Kumar, who is an exponent of Perini Thandavam, and he honestly supported me, took his time, gave me all that, prepared me, and then he put me onto the dais. Just before entering the dais, also, I get a message on my mobile from Kala Krishna Garu that you are not the only one who is performing this. For a moment, I felt the stage that I am stepping has already moved away from me. But then I said, no, you have to prove it first. Then take the challenge, whether the statement holds good. A day before, I felt sick. My sugar levels went down. I was on IV. And on the day of performance, I suffered dehydration. And, I was still running from the washrooms to the dais. That is the stage when I said, no, still I'm not going to give up. That was the time when my children strongly stood beside me, my second husband, and one of my closest friends in the dance institute himself stood beside the dais, giving me the ORS and everything. And I did back the record of being the first lady Perini performer and, you know, won the title and dedicated it to my mother. That was my first Bharat World Record. But then this again went into a challenge where again Kala Krishna Garu stated that I'm not the first person to perform and he wanted me to surrender the record, saying that it is not being done. So I openly challenged, I asked Perni Kumar Garu to go ahead, go for a scrutiny because this comes from the central government, not the state government. So I put my award before me, took up the challenge, and after scrutiny and investigations and also every information available, it was proved none but Vatsalendra did it. So
Awesome.
that was more stronger a moment for me than the original award being bestowed. So I was
Absolutely.
tremendously happy. Anyway, that came to me not to leave me again. I was happy about it.
Awesome.
That's how my first
So
record went. And then I took up to another challenge to take it as mother and daughter challenge. Of course, there's age difference, but then I said both of us will perform once to leave a mark. Again, I called for the Bharat World Records to register us, to fix a date. And then both of us did Perini Thandavam with Bama Kalapam together on a single date
wow.
with 2 hours 36 minutes. That was my second, of course, with so many acquisitions of, Spurti Mahila, Abhinaya Satyabhama, and multiples, apart from being, doing other multiple best lawyer certificate also I won, and senior most lawyer award, woman lawyer award also I have won. I mean, I feel they are not credits; they are your recognition, recognition of your hard work, recognition of your value again. Value is not monetary. Value is you add to yourself. So this all happened by my true heartfelt efforts.
That's really great. And apart from that, you also won Mrs. Telangana, the title. How did that come across and what happened there?
This is again a very interesting story where I was attending my school almanac, and then my school organized a fashion show and a beauty contest for all the almanac. This was in 2025, last year. So I won the Mrs. Almanai crown. And thereafter, I was pushed by my daughter partly, and I wanted to take opinion from my son if I truly have to participate, because I value his opinion, because he truly gives me a clear feedback, whether be it positive or negative. So, and then because in his childhood, because of my divorce problems, he already went into stress, and he used to cocoon himself in a single room, not to face the world. So I didn't want again all these things to affect him in a youthful age. S- I really took his consent not because I wanted a consent. I wanted to be very sure that he has no qualms about it. He said, "No, mommy, you have to go." That really put the fire in me. So I did register myself for Mrs. Telangana and won the crown of Mrs. Telangana. And thereafter, my husband, my daughter, and my son again pushed me into Mrs. India. For Mrs. India, of course, my husband did give me a stronger support that I can make it. And my daughter, too. My daughter mentally prepared me a lot that when I can do it, you also can do it, Mama. And as I said, my son, every time that I would wear a new attire, he would compliment me, "Mama, you look rocking, stunning, and you will give a tough time to the youngsters there." But of course, no, they were really beautiful ladies and women there. So, of course, along with me, everybody is beautiful. The women themselves are beautiful. And then to my credentials, I'm also Mrs. Almana 2026.
Awesome. There'll be a small booklet with your titles and achievements and everything. I'm sure of that.
So
So,
this is how Mrs. India and Mrs. Telangana. And this year, I'm the jury for Mrs. Strong and Beautiful Telangana.
oh, that's awesome. And I heard you're mentoring them also. And I'm sure they'll have lots to learn from you.
Yes.
So, so Vatsalendra, as we come to end of our discussion, which has been really, really insightful, few quick questions. What is one thing that you would advise to all the women out there to take care of herself in terms of law?
To be well equipped and to know what is important for their life then and there of the remedy is the first bare minimum knowledge that they should have. Seek for such knowledge and be prepared.
Well said. Now you're a lawyer and you're a dancer. How did you choose to give priority to which profession and why?
This is really something which I always felt and I wanted to tell. Dance is my passion, passion never to die. I'll dance till the day my feet support me. But my profession will protect innumerable lives. I can do lots of service where it cannot be done by anybody else. It should be me who has to stand for many people who share their problems, and that gives immense satisfaction to me. While profession gives a commitment and dedication, passion gives me life. While I want to give life to others, I take support of my dance as to give life to me. So, this is how I balance dance and my profession as two limbs to my body.
Beautifully said, Vatsalendra. And it has been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much. Your journey has been truly inspiring, and I'm sure there might be many out there who can relate to some incident of your life. And I hope they draw strength from.
Really bringing out everything from my end so that I give some message and my life becomes a message to everybody. A voice of a woman through a voice of another woman is more powerful and stronger. With this, I tell three cheers to all the stronger women. Here, I'm talking to a stronger woman, my voice through Sony. Thank you very much, Sony.
Thank you.